sentences about.
Okay, so you already are online.
Okay, so we're continuing with the appearance, why Mahaprabhu appeared. We're trying to understand Mahaprabhu a little bit, whatever we can understand. So we're going to discuss more about why he came. We're going to read from Adi Lila chapter 3, beginning with text 13. And we will do kirtan first. Hare Krishna. Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodhanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jashodhanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Vanshakapadurvishcha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschachita Satani. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a big impersonalist before he met Mahaprabhu. And he even tried to instruct Mahaprabhu because he was older. And by trying to instruct Mahaprabhu and not getting anywhere, and hearing from Mahaprabhu what he understood, Sarvabhauma was changed. And he composed many verses. And there's a verse that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya composed where he describes that Mahaprabhu came to give Prema Nam. So you may have heard this word before, Prema Nam, and wondered, where this, like Satyananda Swami just make this up, it sounds good. Mahaprabhu is giving prema through the name, so it must be a Prema Nam. It sounds logical, but actually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he composed it. Many great devotees, as they studied and understood who Mahaprabhu was, or we should say who Mahaprabhu is, they composed books and poems and songs describing the uniqueness of Mahaprabhu. So we had discussed last class, I believe, or at all the classes on Mahaprabhu, we are discussing the uniqueness of Mahaprabhu's descent and specifically what he's teaching. So we discussed a little bit about this Prema Nam. So Prema Nam is a more powerful version of the holy name. And so what we're going to read today is that when Krishna comes, he comes to establish Dharma. You know that verse in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharma shaglanir bhavati bharata. Whenever and wherever there's a Dharma, I come to establish Dharma. That's what I do. Now, how does Krishna do that? In different ways, in different incarnations. But he says here, by blessing the devotees and annihilating the demons. There was this huge battle of Kurukshetra, and there were various other enemies of Krishna who tried to kill him. Practically every day, when Krishna was with his friends, some, what we could call a wizard, someone who had mystic power, would assume the shape of a monster or an animal, disguise himself. And he had massive amounts of power, and he tried to kill Krishna, and Krishna killed them. But actually, Krishna didn't kill them, because that's the duty of the Yuga avatar, which is Vishnu's duty, not Krishna's duty. So you may have heard this, and we'll read about this. Whenever Krishna kills anyone, it's actually Vishnu within him, because all forms of Krishna are within Krishna. But the killing is not done by Krishna. So one good example is Putana. We know the story of Putana, right? She was an evil witch, the wicked witch of the West. Well, the wicked witch of the East, I guess. The wicked witch of India, the wicked witch of Uttar Pradesh, to be exact, or Mathura Vrindavan area. I don't know. I think she was a friend of Kamsa, so Mathura. So, and that was one of her jobs, was killing babies. So you can imagine what kind of person she was. So Krishna played a trick on her, took the breast milk. It was poisoned. Her breasts were poisoned. He sucked the poison. Of course, you can't kill Krishna, and he sucked out her life. And then he blessed her, and she actually became was elevated to the state of Krishna's mother, that relationship. So Vishnu killed her, and Krishna blessed her. And Vishnu cannot give that blessing, and Krishna cannot do the killing. So what does Krishna do? He gives love. What does Vishnu do? He establishes Dharma. So Mahaprabhu, as we've discussed, wanted to come to understand Radha's love and distribute it. And it was also the time for the Yuga Dharma, for the Yuga avatar. It's Kali Yuga. So he comes every Kali Yuga. And then he thought, well, in this Kali Yuga, we will not just establish Dharmasya, Glani, Bhavati Bharata. We won't just establish Dharma, but we'll do what Krishna does. We'll give love. That's what we're going to do. So, as we discussed, he puts that love into the holy name. He, as we said, he spices it, splices it. Spice, same idea. With prema. So now that holy name that couldn't give prema after the Mahaprabhu's appearance, it can give prema. It's kind of interesting. It's like an upgrade to your phone, you know. Your phone now come do with the new upgrade, you can do something you couldn't do before, something extraordinary. You know, like your phone can cook potatoes or something. You know, you just shoot a picture of potatoes and they're cooked. Shoot a picture of sour cream, there's sour cream on it. You know, something extraordinary to make your life easy. So I was thinking about this. And I want you to think about this also. We have been talking a lot about chanting, and it's really important to understand that the symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness is a taste and an attraction for chanting. And a symptom of offense, or a symptom of, not necessarily offense, but it is also a symptom of offense, especially if you go from taste and you lose it, it could be due to offenses. But a symptom of a lower level of Krishna consciousness is not much attraction for chanting. So as we progress, the attraction increases. And so, you know, we were talking in last class about Mahaprabhu saying, Durdaivam ihajani nanuraga. I'm unfortunate because I'm not attached. This is not just something ordinary spiritual practice. Well, I'm not attached to deity worship, but I like washing pots. Or I don't like washing pots, but I like deity worship. Or I don't like book distribution, but I like publishing books. It's not like, well, that's okay if you don't like this. It's not like that. well, I don't really like chanting, but I like teaching class. No, this is the way in Kali Yuga that you get prema. And that name gives prema. And there isn't another way in Kali Yuga that we can get prema. So in thinking about this morning, I was thinking that the real understanding of misfortune becomes clear when we're chanting a name that can give prema and all we get is boredom and sleepiness. Like that's the, I think that's the height of misfortune. You agree? I mean, you know, this is not an ordinary name, and this name can give prema, and I don't even like chanting it. Well, that's also, we could say that's a height of dullness. We could say so many things. I don't want to make you feel bad and you all cry, but I think honestly we can say it's foolish. It's the height of dullness, foolishness, and misfortune. And maybe there's a few other things I'm not thinking of, but it's good. It's good to understand it, that this is not an ordinary holy name, that in other ages, well, you know, it's just a process, just another process. So as we study Prabhupada's books and the books of Acharyas, we see it's not just a process, but it is the process. This is how you get it. Okay, so we had spoken, I think, in the first set of lectures, which was probably a week ago, I believe, about why we don't get this taste. And we don't get this taste because of offenses. And offenses are four kinds. You can offend the name. That's normally what we mean when we're talking about chanting. But you can offend a devotee, and that will cause you to lose taste for chanting. You can make offenses to the deities, or you can make offenses in the Dham, commit sinful activities in the Dham. So there are many places where we'll find two instructions, the two things you do to become Krishna conscious, and they go together: chant Hare Krishna and respect devotees. And we had spoken about respect. So I'm kind of summarizing what we've spoken and maybe shedding more light on it. Chant Hare Krishna and respect devotees. Another way of saying that is chant Hare Krishna, don't offend devotees. So this is interesting because I see, both in my own heart and the hearts of other devotees, that we take offending devotees fairly lightly, like it's not a big thing, because after all, it's just my brother, you know. So I was thinking today how sometimes devotees get caught up in issues that are going on within ISKCON, and they're upset about them, and usually that upset ends up going towards a person, because, you know, if you're upset, it's usually somebody behind what's upsetting you. And so naturally your mind just gravitates to that person. Oh, in ISKCON they do this. Well, who is the they? Well, it's the GBC. Well, which one is behind it? And you think, yeah, well, it's these two. All right. So you hit the target. Your offense hit those two. Before it was a little ambiguous. Now you got there, right? So, all right, you're upset. Maybe it's a valid cause or case or reason. But we're always being told, be careful about committing offenses. I have seen, this is not a criticism, I just have seen that there are lots of devotees who do this, who have difficulty chanting their rounds, who don't like chanting their rounds. If you don't like chanting your rounds, usually you have difficulty finishing them, who maybe have even stopped chanting their rounds. Interesting, right? This connection, because Mahaprabhu is saying, chant, this is the process, and chant in a humble state of mind, respect devotees. If we chant, and I don't offend devotees, but I respect them, then I can get a taste for the holy name. If I get a taste, I want to chant. If I get a taste, it's because I'm chanting better. If I'm chanting better, more of the Prema Nam, the effect of Prema Nam is starting to work on me. I have less trouble in Krishna consciousness. I don't wake up every day thinking, it's so hard. I don't like this. Have so many troubles. How am I going to deal with it? My mind, this, that is when you're getting some taste for the holy name, those things don't really happen. I mean, they happen to all of us, but it doesn't last. It's not like your existential constant state of affairs. Yeah, things happen, they come and go. The world is in a mess right now. Devotees are suffering in Ukraine. Obviously, we're upset. But I'm talking about steadily being upset, steadily being weak, steadily struggling, steadily complaining, those things. It's not, at least we should think, and I can't analyze everybody's listening to this, but at least we should think these are not symptoms of one who's chanting without offense. These generally are symptoms of one who's making one or more of the offenses. So that's important to understand. Our teachings say, if we offend devotees, we can't make advancement. So, well, okay, let's balance the scales. Well, I offended 3 devotees today, so I chanted, for every devotee I offend, I chant 8 rounds. So I chanted 24. So now the scales are even. You don't want to, that may be true, but that's a strange way to live, isn't it? So I'm just I'm not going anywhere because I have to keep balancing with the offenses. We don't want to live that way. So the point is simple, but it's not so simple. Maybe not so simple to do, but also not always so clearly understood, because I see very good devotees being very critical all the time. And I wonder, if you have a taste for the holy name, and these devotees are better than me anyway, but I wonder, when I see this, I wonder if you're actually tasting the holy name, would you be sitting around talking about these things? And the first thought is, no, you wouldn't. You would be talking about Bhagavatam and relishing that. You wouldn't want to talk about this problem, this devotee doing that, and this devotee doing that. So then you get this vicious cycle. You want to talk about it because you're not relishing the holy name. And then directly, it's kind of like radiation, it goes out and it spreads. So directly or indirectly, there's some effect of these offenses because you're taking part in discussions, you're saying them, you're listening to them. And then it definitely affects your chanting. And then if your chanting is affected, it's minimizing your ability to come closer to the pure name, which then creates an inclination to gossip, because gossip is just like, that's what we do, right? You ever gossip? Hey, Gabriela, did you hear what happened to so-and-so? Swami, I saw him at the beach with this beautiful young girl. Oh, really? What beach? When? Who was she? What's her name? Isn't it? If I just throw the bait at you and say, there's this Swami, he was just found at the beach, first thing is, which one? What beach? Where? What's going on? What's happening in ISKCON? It's human nature. We like gossip, right? Just yesterday, I heard that one of my godbrothers got his 3rd booster and then had a heart problem and died. He said, I don't think so. I just talked to him 2 days ago. And so some anti-vaxxer must have spread that rumor, or there's another person with that name. But, you ever hear something and go, oh my God, that's amazing. And then uninvestigated information goes out on your Facebook to all your friends. And then you have to come back 3 days later and say, I'm sorry, that wasn't true. Because you can't monitor. I mean, even the news media, you can't really monitor. You don't really know, right? It is what it is, right? When I was in South Africa, one devotee told me, he said, they went into Soweto, this was during apartheid, and they threw money in trash cans. And all the kids were diving into the trash can. And the reporter's saying, look they have no food in Soweto. They're trying to get food out of the trash can. And what do you know? That's all. That's what you see. So that's what you believe. So we had spoken about this vicious cycle before. We had spoken about this vicious cycle before. I offend a devotee, it affects my chanting. I'm weak. As I'm weak, the tendency to offend or criticize continues. I become weaker. So I'm not saying that everyone who's criticizing is not chanting good rounds, but I would suspect if it's an obsession that they're not chanting good rounds, because generally people who are relishing deeply the holy name, relishing Bhagavatam, they don't get obsessed with throwing arrows at leadership and problems. They're more obsessed with trying to fix the problem, actually, than talking about it. And they also understand that some problems they can't fix, so they stop talking about them. But some people like to talk about problems they can't fix ad infinitum, but that doesn't put you in a really good state to go deeply in the holy name. So going back to my thought, you have probably seen devotees disagree on something, get into heated discussions, bring it home, talk about it, stew it up on the fire, spice it up, eat it for breakfast, eat it for lunch, eat it for dinner, eat it for the next week, month. You've seen that. Maybe you've done that yourself. What I want to say is that in many cases, I believe this is due to offensive chanting, that you wouldn't be that obsessed, because as you go more deeply in the holy name, you relish it. That's a sign. It becomes sweeter. And in that sweetness, the hearing of Bhagavatam becomes sweeter. The rendering of everything becomes sweeter, and vice versa. Everything becomes less sweet as your chanting becomes less sweet. Your reading is less effective and less deep, less relishable. So it's just something to look for. And I don't want you all going after this class, oh yeah, that devotee. I always knew it. They were in my, that's not the point. The point is to, look at yourself. But sometimes if you're helping devotees and you see this obsession, just ask them, Prabhu, how are your rounds? I'm probably going to say, not really good. Why do you ask? I said, yeah, then you can politely explain. I think you're a little too absorbed in this, and Trinadavi Sunichina, we want to be respectful. And we have a question about if we're upset, how can we do this? Let's go back to this point that offending, you can't make advancement and offend devotees. Just let's keep that as a bottom line. Criticism doesn't always mean you're offending, but the space between criticism and offense is a lot closer than the space between not criticism and offense. Do you agree with that? So if you're a leader, or if you see something wrong and you feel duty bound to talk about it, just be careful that you're getting closer to the fire. What you should always remember as well to protect yourself is there are two sides to every story, and sometimes three sides and sometimes four sides. So when you hear one side, it can anger you. So Gabrielle is telling me, this is going on. I have to kill somebody now. And then I speak to the person that she's talking about, and he says, no, that's not what I meant. No, I didn't do that. Somebody told her I did it, but I didn't. I say, oh, no, I understand how she feels. I would never do that. Oh, okay, another side. Then I get the third side. Well, it's not exactly like that. What he said is true, but not entirely. And what she said is not entirely not true. I say, oh, so when you get close to this, it's like you can become very upset. And why could that devotee do that? What's wrong with them? Like, who made him a leader? They should pull him out. You go through this. You can go through these thoughts. When the fact is, he's a very nice devotee. And he had to make a decision, and any decision he made, 50% of the devotees wouldn't have liked. So no matter what he decided, you'll get, if it wasn't Gabriella, it would be Anuradha, So if he took Gabriella's side, then Anuradha would be let down. He takes Anuradha's side, Gabriella's let down. Sometimes it's like that. So when you deal with these things, just be careful, because it's difficult. And when you have to rectify a situation and deal with the devotee's faults, the step from discussing into offense is not that far. Let us understand that we cannot become Krishna conscious if we're committing offenses. Let's just understand that. If we want to become Krishna conscious in this life, and we are committing offenses, any of those 4 offenses, the worst one being Namaparad and Vaishnavaparad, the worst 2. And as I said, if you commit Vaishnavaparad, that's Namaparad, 2 for the price of 1. You're doing them both. So that's a way you could say Vaishnavaparad, as the Shastra says, it's the mad elephant. Yeah, but it's also the aparad to the holy name. And to overcome the offense to a Vaishnava, you have to beg forgiveness. To overcome offense to holy name, you have to beg forgiveness. And it's said, the holy name is so merciful, you offend Krishna, the holy name will forgive you. You just chant it. But what do you do when you offend the holy name? Like, where do you go now? Okay, I made an offense to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The holy name forgives you. Now I've made offense to holy name. Who's going to forgive you now? And all you can do is beg at the feet of holy name, and not and stop making those offenses. But Shastra says it takes time to overcome the effects of offenses to the holy name. So that's why it takes a time to overcome the offenses to a Vaishnava, but it's faster. Vaishnavas, so yes, I forgive you. But there are reactions, and specifically with the holy name, it takes a while. So what I'm trying to do is just caution you, like, be extremely careful. When you go out today, be really careful not to make offenses. And see, just as an experiment, okay, this week I'm going to be cautious. I'm not going to offend the holy name, the Vaishnav, the Dham, the deity. And see how that affects your japa. Let's just do an experiment. Let's try to be respectful to Vaishnavas. Let's try to just remove the mentality of this, that, and the next thing, and see what happens. We have seen devotees who become very offensive disappear. We see this all the time. When we were in the brahmachari ashram, we always knew when the next casualty was coming, because it was the brahmachari who was becoming the most critical. It was just like, yeah, it was just like, how do I say it? It's like when he left, all the brahmacharis were like, yeah, of course. Like, we knew, it's like, when the brahmachari is attracted to a brahmacharini, it's like everybody knows, because they kind of see them looking at one another. And then you hear they're going to get married. Yeah, we knew, we saw that. It wasn't difficult. So it was like that. We saw he was just getting more and more and more critical, which was a sign that he's having problems in his devotional life, which then affected him. So he couldn't execute his sadhana well. And then it's like he doesn't have any inspiration and strength anymore. So we've seen it. So, you can't have a discussion. Ultimately, you can't have a discussion on improving japa unless you give this warning. That's the point. So now you're all warned. So we go back to the Prema Nam. So this name can give prema. Obviously, we want to be able to chant it in a way where that prema that's in it is accessible. Otherwise, it's like your great-great-grandfather has given you a treasure chest of jewels, but you spending your whole life trying to crack the combo. You can't cut it. You can't shoot through it. It's a lock that can only be opened with a combo. And somehow or other, you can't get it open. So although you have this wealth, billions of dollars in gold and jewels, you can't access it. and the trunk is secured with super glue to the floor. And it's like indestructible. Even an atom bomb couldn't open it up. The only thing is the lock, and you can't open it. That would be a shame, right? So we were talking before how the instructions of the guru is the combo. You have to, that's why it said you have to get a mantra. It's not the only reason, but you have to get a mantra from a guru, because if you don't get a mantra from a guru, you won't know how to live a lifestyle in which the mantra will be effective, but specifically with the holy name. Or additionally, you won't know how to chant it because you won't know how to avoid the offenses. So your Diksha Guru, he's your Harinam Guru. He teaches you how to chant the holy name. Of course, everyone in ISKCON teaches us. He teaches you how to chant the holy name. That's a combination. So because I'm giving you Prema Nam, the treasure chest. If I don't give you the combination, you're still poor. And then I see it. Say, hey, Gopinath, you should be driving around in a $100,000 car because I've given you the greatest wealth in your life. It's the holy name. Yeah, but I can't get the combination open, so I'm still poor. I'm still driving my 1973 Toyota Jalopy. Say, but you have $1 billion in that treasure chest. Yeah, I know, but I can't get it open. So it's something like that. We live poor in our bhakti if we don't know how the combination to the holy name. But once we open it, then we live rich in bhakti. And then we don't have all these, oh, my mind, I'm so up and down. Today I'm so depressed. I'm so attached. I just can't get out of bed before 8:30 in the morning. Like all of that, you won't have that. It's like you have $1 billion. You don't go around, so many bills to pay, and I got to put new tires on my car. What are you talking about? Just buy a new car, buy a Mercedes SUV. It's only $100,000. That's just change for you now that you have $1 billion. You know, wouldn't you find that weird if some billionaire's complaining about, he's got to put new tires on his car? Cars never get that old that they need new tires. Just tires, just buy a new one. What's wrong with you, right? So a lot of those complaints are just like old car complaints because we're too poor and we don't have, but I don't have money to fix the tire and they're about to blow up. And then what do I do when they blow up? You get stranded, I guess. And how did you end up poor? Oh, it's just bad karma. No. What were you doing in school? Nothing, playing. Yeah, that's why. So if you take the holy name properly, you can get prema because it's in there. And if you don't, oh my Govinda, like how unfortunate is that? What a loss that is. Okay, that's the preface to today's class. I'm just going to see if there's some comments or questions that would relate to this. It's hard to wake up early. No, it's hard to wake up late. Whatever you say, it's hard to, switch it around. Say, it's hard to chant my rounds. No, it's hard not to. Talk to the people that relish the holy name. They don't have a hard time. Talk to the devotees who are strong. They don't have a hard time. If they get up late, they're depressed. They have a hard time. They have a hard time not getting up early. They have a hard time not chanting good rounds. So I have a hard time controlling my mind. No, you have a hard time because your mind's not controlled. Just flip it around. That's the reality, And anyway, what good does it walk around? Oh, hard time controlling my mind. That's like Chicken Little saying the sky's going to fall. Like that doesn't help anything. It just reinforces that you have a crazy mind. And my mind's crazy. My mind's hard to control. All you're saying is, I'm not controlling my mind and I'm not going to try. And I'm just going to complain to everybody about it. So everyone will feel bad about me and I'll have an excuse for being a Maya. Like, what's the point? We'll at least walk around and say, it's hard to live with an uncontrolled mind. I need to, that's productive. I will control my mind. This uncontrolled mind is driving me crazy. That's how we should be right now. So hard to do. If something is hard and you keep saying it's hard, you know what happens? It gets harder. Have you noticed that? It's like, that makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, you want to make your life hard, just walk around and tell everybody how hard your life is. excuse me, sir, can I tell you how hard my life is? It's so bad. You couldn't believe it. They kicked me out of my class, because I was telling jokes to the girls. I mean, it's not a big thing. And now, I can't even get a job anywhere. Only place that'll hire me is McDonald's, but I'm vegetarian. I can't do that. And I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent next week. It's like, why don't you talk about solutions? Like, well, maybe I could do this. Maybe, isn't it? Isn't that like what you should do? Krishna consciousness is so hard. I can't control my mind. I don't like to chant. I can't chant my rounds. Like, do something about it. Don't talk about it. Right? You know that joke? They say losers watch what happens. It goes by and they're just watching it. They can't figure it out. And winners make it happen. Winners make it happen. Losers watch it happen. So it's like, don't sit by and just look at all the problems. Do something. Understand what they are and do something. It's only one life. I mean, you've been around a billion lives. This is like flash. This is like nothing. I can't control my mind. It's only for another 50 years. It's not a big deal. You've gone 50 zillion years not controlling it. If you control it for 50, which is like 1 second in eternity, then you get Krishna. And if you don't get Krishna, you're going to be one crazy, dissatisfied, depressed person. So, it's not like you have a choice. I can't control my mind. Okay, what are your options? I guess my option is repeated birth and death. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Sounds like easier to control your mind than repeated birth and death. I don't know if you remember what it's like to be in the womb, but it's 9 months squashed in there. Not so nice. I don't know if you remember what it was like to be in nursery school, first grade, second grade. Not a lot of fun. And then when you hit puberty, it's like hell, right? And then we finally go to college and tolerate it. And then you get to go to work for another 40 years, sitting in front of a computer. I don't know. I'd rather just control my mind and go back to God. I think that's easier. So when you're saying it's hard, I always say it's harder not to. It's hard to control my mind. It's harder not to. Right? Still, I will say in many cases, if not most, if not even all, I'll say virtually all, these are signs of offenses to devotees or to the holy name. The process works. The process will inspire you. If you get good association, if you hear every day, if you chant good rounds, you won't feel this way. If you isolate yourself where you don't have good association, then you could have problems. If you're making offenses to the holy name, then you could have problems. If you stop reading, you lose your taste for hearing, then you could have problems. But if you do these things, you will be inspired and you'll have problems. Everyone has problems. They won't be big. They won't be like, your momentum. Sometimes you're running or riding a bike or something and you're going really fast and you fall, but you just get back up and going because you have momentum. So, but if you have, starting and you hardly get going and you fall, it's like, what's the use? I can't even ride the bike. So if you're doing well in your spiritual life, if you build momentum, then if you run into a bump on the road, it's not a problem because you have momentum. You'll just keep going. And you will run into bumps. I'm not saying you won't, but the bumps aren't going to really do much. Right? So let's go through the questions because it relates. I think I answered this, but I'll read it. What if we're upset with a devotee for a genuine reason and he reciprocates in the same way? So does he get any reaction for offending? Well, how do you know you're not the one who offended first and he's offending back as a response? That's the first question I would ask. And what do you want to do? You want to fight? You want to spend your life? I don't like that devotee, and until he apologizes, I won't look at his ugly face. You want to spend the rest of your life that way and call yourself a devotee? We have too much of this going on. You might as well just, join the forces of the non-devotees because that's what they do. And if you're going to do the same thing, wear tilak and kunti mala and pretend to chant Hare Krishna, then you should act like a devotee, right? What about forgiving the devotee? You ever think of that? There was some man who offended Prabhupada and all the devotees were talking to Prabhupada. how to get back at the man. And Prabhupada said, well, we could forgive him. And the devotee who told the story said, nobody thought of that option. Everybody thought of retaliation. It's like, where do we learn that, is that's what we got from Bhagavad Gita? We should kill people? Yeah, it's right there in the first chapter. We should kill people, It's like Islam, we should kill the world. No, it doesn't actually say that. Jihad, yeah, the jihad's with yourself. You're the enemy. So you're a little misunderstanding there. Okay, Rachna. Is there a genuine reason to be upset with a devotee? Well, yes and no. Okay, let's say you have a good reason. You're upset. I won't deny that. My question is, you have a good reason to remain upset? Like you want to remain upset because that's going to destroy your bhakti. Is that how you want to live? Tit for tat? They upset me. Okay, I'm putting pins on their bed tonight. So when they lay on, they'll scream and I go, okay, now we're even. Is that how we want to live? We don't. It's not how we want to live. Are people is this going to be the last person to offend you in your life? I would doubt it. You want to retaliate with everyone who offends you, you're going to have to open up a corporation called Defense Anonymous, Defense Offense Anonymous, because there are a lot of people who are going to offend you as they will me and other people. And so what do we learn from Shastra? How do we learn to deal with it? Through understanding, forgiveness, compassion, and so forth. That's what we're learning to do. Is it hard? Yeah, and it's harder to hold on to resentment your whole life. So it's the same principle. So what do you do if a devotee upsets you? Well, it's not like, hey, you upset me and I'm God and you can't upset God. It's not like that. Okay, you upset me. Who am I? I'm not like the most important person in the universe. So if you upset me, you'll go to hell for 100,000 lifetimes because I'm so important, We're not that important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, humility and compassion mean, well, you did something to me and you hurt me, but on my account, I don't want you to suffer. I'm not going to get back at you because I'm not that significant that you should suffer on my account. These are the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So meditate on those. Those are powerful words, aren't they? Like, how important are we all? That should somebody suffer because of us? Because they said something and I didn't feel good about what they said, so now you should suffer because of that? If that's going to happen, Krishna will arrange it. But the first point I made, Rachna, is that sometimes people offend us and we don't realize it because we offended them and they're taking the second punch, not the first. And sometimes we think it's the first punch. It might be. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it could be the second punch. So that's something to consider. And have you ever offended anybody? Probably. How do you want to be treated when you're offended? Forgiven? Probably. These are things you can think about. But, how should I respond if I'm offended and the devotee doesn't apologize? Well, just read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna will give you the answer. One is a kind friend, everyone, equal to all, beyond duality, not affected by happiness and stress, fame, and, all the instructions of how do I respond are right there. I'll sum up my answer in this way. A devotee has 26 qualities, and that defines his behavior. So no matter what happens, he doesn't think, okay, which one of these 26 qualities am I throwing out the window now? Because I got to beat this guy up. Which quality can I throw out so I can beat him up? Devotee doesn't think that way. The 26 qualities don't shift according to what's happening. And a lot of times when we ask these how should I respond questions, it's like, okay, do you have to follow the 26 qualities when this happens? Sorry for the bad news, but yes. Now, if it's physical violence or abuse that's destructive emotionally, you don't just stand by and get run over. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as a general principle, when the normal upsets and dualities come to this world and you ask, what should I do? So the same thing you do every day. It shouldn't be any different. Respect all living entities, forgive, be compassionate, like that. Now, do you want to interact with that person? Maybe not. So don't. That's not going against Vaishnava Dharma. That's just intelligent. You don't want to be around a person who will cause you to have a heart attack, if you stay around them, or a nervous breakdown or something. But to dwell on it endlessly, that'll just destroy you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So it's not smart. But see, I don't know your particular situation, so this is just general, right? Somebody tried to kill you, obviously, you're going to have to get a lawyer and go to the police and so on. But it doesn't mean you give up the 26 qualities even when you do that. Krishna Karshani says, I see two types of devotees, one who sees problems and imperfections in other devotees and addresses them, and the other who, out of fear of making offense, say nothing. I believe both are wrong. What is a healthy attitude? Because we cannot pretend that ISKCON is perfect and devotees are perfect. What attitude we should have towards the imperfections of devotees in situations that will not have detrimental effect on our chanting? I think Bhakta Steve, Bhakta Kavi, he said it, change what you can, but if you're trying to change something you can't, then it's going to just disturb you. Like, okay, you go into this restaurant, not that we do go into restaurants, but is that restaurant, and they only have certain foods, and you don't really like them, but there's every other restaurant is closed, so you just pick the ones you like the least don't like. You pick the lesser of the evils of all the preparations. So sometimes you look at a situation, it's just like, oh, I can't do anything. This is all, there's nothing good. Nothing good is going to come out of this. So why should I invest my time and energy? Is your time valuable? Can you use it in positive ways? I hope so. So before you enter a battlefield, you have to ask, is it worth going into this battlefield? What's going to come out of it? What could I be doing if I wasn't on this battlefield? And it might be a really good cause, but because the situation, that nothing good will come out of it and maybe bad will come out of it. So you just don't do it. So that's one scenario. The second scenario is, can I help it? Okay. Can I help it and not get caught? Not catch the big fish and not get pulled into the water? That's the second question. So can I help it, and can I do it without destroying myself and without offending others? And many devotees may not want to get involved just because it's so disruptive to their bhakti. But I would say at the same time, if we see injustice, it's our duty to at least inform the authorities that these things are happening. It depends. You say, well, I told my temple president, he didn't do anything. All right, go tell the GBC. Yeah, but if I tell the GBC, my temple president will hate me for the next 3 lives, because he will say, why didn't you talk to me? Even though we did talk and nothing happened. So, you have to evaluate it. Okay. Then go to the EC, or go to the zonal supervisor, or go to your spiritual master. It depends, how involved you want to get. And then, you might get so involved and nothing's happening, and it's all you're thinking about is that problem and why nobody's doing anything. And you're 24 hours absorbed and you're getting angry, and that's all you think about when you chant. So, you have to maintain your creeper. So you have to be careful. Now, the other thing I want to say is that some people don't talk about it. But some people don't talk about it to the people they should talk about it. They talk about it to the people that they shouldn't talk about it, which is everybody else other than the people who are creating the problems. So then it just pollutes the environment, right? I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, but then I tell you about it. And it's nothing to do with you. So we have to be careful with that. If we're not going to talk about it because we feel we can't do anything, then don't talk about it. Don't go around telling all your friends why you're not talking about the problem. and telling him about the problem, you're not going to be, I'm not going to be talking about this problem. Can I tell you about the problem I'm not going to be talking about? Can I tell you why I'm not going to be talking about the problem? And so what are you doing? You're talking about the problem. So, if you're going to talk about it, at least do it productively. If there's a person doing something wrong and her action is affecting others, one says something to that person so he realizes it. Is that considered? No, not an offense. Unless you're offensive the way you say it. You stupid idiot. Don't you have a brain? Everybody can see you're such a moron. Why are you doing that? Yeah, that's offensive. But if it's Prabhu, can we talk about something? I hope you don't take offense, but I think it's important you understand this, and I just mean good. And if anything I can do to help you, let me know. Yeah. So Ravi Kunja says, thanks for the reminder. Yeah. The reminder should last about 3 hours. Let's see how, and so I test how good my classes are by how many hours until you make your next offense. So if you can go more than 3 hours, it's a good class. If you can go 3 days, it's going to be like one of the top. If we get up to a week, probably the best class I've ever given on not making offense. If it can go beyond a week, then I think, okay, I'm qualified to be a guru. I got you beyond 1 week of offenses. That's not easy. That's rare. Satyarupa says, sometimes I feel when I chant, I'm licking the jar, not the honey inside the jar. Will that get better with time, or is it due to offenses? Yeah, that's what Mahaprabhu says. Krishna's in front of you. What are you thinking about, Satyarupa? Are you thinking about, I want to taste the jar because I'm one miserable person, and if I don't taste the jar, I'm not going to want to serve Krishna? Yeah, then the jar will remain closed. If you're thinking, Krishna, I just want to please you, chant for your pleasure, the jar comes open. So as a general answer, say, yeah, any lack of taste is due to offenses. But some devotees also have strange minds, and their minds get in the way of their japa. Awkward ways of thinking that wouldn't be considered offenses per se, but just attitudes that just cripple the ability to go deeper into the holy name. So that could be there also. But the philosophical answer is generally it's due to some offenses. It's hard to wake up early. It's hard to wake up late. Your new mantra. Yeah, hard to wake up. Yeah, that's what you meant. It's hard to wake up late. Oh, yeah. Gopinath, how do you feel when you wake up early? Tired. No, how do you feel when you wake up early? Like, wow, I could chant like 100 rounds a day. It's 2 a.m. I can read for 6 hours before work. It's 2 a.m. Yeah. And how do you feel when you wake up late? Oh my God, I got no time to chant. I have to go to work. I hate myself. What's the use? Right? Más o menos? Yeah. I have your mind on my computer. I'm just reading it out. What's on your mind? You guys, you and ladies and gentlemen, you Prabhus, you don't know that all your minds are my computer. I just opened a file in your mind whenever I have to write you, and I see what's going on, and I just address it. So Gopinath says, I had a problem with a devotee a few days ago. We talked about the problem. Now we are super okay. Any tips on how to always be on that mood of resolution? Yeah, it's called humility, vulnerability, willingness to apologize, willingness to see one's faults, willingness to talk. It has to become a normal state. We talked about we talked. I'm just reading the next question last night. I forgot. But when I'm teaching something, I'm hoping, number one, you understand it. Number two, that you understand it's not something you just try on and see how it works for a few days and think, well, this is pure devotee stuff. And, I just have to keep reminding myself, make tattoos, be humble, be vulnerable, make tattoos on my eyelids so I can, look at them. No, it's meant to actually shift the way you are. So it becomes a way of being, so to speak. How do you become always humble? Oh, that's easy. Just be always humble, right? If someone says, how do you become always humble? My first question is, do you want to be humble? If you're asking the question, how do I become always humble? I have a hunch you don't always want to be humble. You want to, juggle those 26 qualities and, delete a few as needed according to the situation. You ever feel like that? Well, let's just black out this quality for now so I can punch him in the nose. And then after he's knocked out, I'll pick him up and put the quality back and nurse him back to life. How to become humble. If you don't want to be humble, no hope. How do you become forgiving? You don't want to be forgiving? No hope. How do you become serious? You don't want to be serious? No hope. You have to want, right? That's where your fortune comes from, wanting. Make yourself fortunate by wanting these qualities. And then you say, well, how? I throw that question back to you. That's for you to answer, not for me. I could answer it. You'll forget. 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, you'll forget. If you realize it, if you develop a desire and you realize it, then being humble is not so difficult because you'll always remember this is the state that I want to exist in. And I'm around someone who's not humble. I'm around someone who's lying, cheating, whatever. I will not lie. I will not cheat. I will not become arrogant because I'm over that. I'm living a Brahminical life. I don't do that anymore, even when someone else does it. That's what you want to come to, where it's just how you are, like, would you eat chicken? You go, no way, I wouldn't eat chicken. Why not? Because you have 108,000 reasons why you wouldn't do it. And all those reasons are like emotionally in your stomach, basically, and in your eyes and nose. I couldn't smell it. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't taste it. It's like, there's no way. It's who you are. So can you get humility like that? Can you get forgiveness like that? Can you get tolerance like that? Can you get all those qualities? So it was like, it's impossible. Somebody can come and say, you're the stupidest person I've ever seen. And you probably say, yeah, that's amazing. And you don't even know me. If you knew me, you'd think I'm even more stupid than you think I am now. It's just like, no problem. That's how you live. Right? You don't live in a retaliation mode. You don't live with punching bags, but with gloves on your false ego, ready to punch people. And if you live that way, Caitanya-Caritamrta, then you'll have a taste for chanting. But that's what I'm saying. I'm just warning that to chant properly, not only do we have to make an effort to be attentive to the holy name and prayerful, but we have to live as a devotee. Otherwise, I don't really like chant. I chant, there's sneak. I don't really like, hey, Prabhu, let's chant. Three beads, talk for 10 minutes, 3 beads, talk for 10 minutes, 3 beads, talk for 10. Then you come back at 9 o'clock. Oh, I got 14 rounds left. You've been chanting for 6 hours and you have 14 rounds left. How did that happen? No attraction. You'd rather talk than chant. These are signs to look at. It's like, why am I doing that? Why don't I have attraction for chanting? There's something wrong, because if you're doing things right, you will have an attraction. Remember, Prabhupada said the sign of an advanced devotee is gauged by their attraction to chanting. Whoa. Where does that put you on the scale? Minus 108? No, you want to wake up in the morning and feel an emotional feeling like, wow, I want to chant. And when you have to stop, you put your beads down and say, I can't wait to pick up my beads again because I love this. That is a sign of healthy Krishna consciousness. You'll want to chant. You like doing it. It's not drudgery. It's like, this is it. This is my spiritual life. This is my connection, my prayer, my heart, my soul. This is what I like. This is what I want. That's a sign of health. If it's like, oh, get around, chant, so much to do, I don't really want to chant, I'll chant them tomorrow. Then you chant and your mind is, traveling through the 3 planetary systems at the speed of light. If you don't like somebody and they spend time with you, pretty much you ignore them as much as you can, isn't it? They're hanging around you. It's like, why do you have to be here? Can't you just go? So they drop in on you and you've got like a million things to do and they want to talk. And so you just keep doing what you're doing, right? Because you have to get it done. And you kind of just trying to show them that I don't really want you here, I mean, you're gauging conversation, but you're doing other things. You don't have time. So if that's how you chant, then you're wondering, why I'm chanting for 30 years and I'm still not Krishna conscious. Is it that difficult to understand? It shouldn't be. Right? Well, a lot of you haven't hit that 30-year platform yet, so you don't have to worry. You're just like at 3 years. So why don't I have a taste after 3 years? I say, well, that's kind of normal, but I'm trying to upgrade your taste so you can get it right away. What like this class, you can listen to this class 50 years from now, and it's going to be as relevant then as it is now. This is eternal knowledge. This is just reality. This is how it is. And, 50 years from now, you might think, how come I didn't understand that class? How come I didn't pay attention? How come I didn't do that? I was a fool. So I am humbly requesting all of you, don't be fools, pay attention. This is just how it is. Hare Krishna. Okay, Nadia says, instead of blaming people for criticizing us, we should blame ourselves for giving them a reason to criticize. Nadia, there's a saying like that. Or maybe you heard me say it before. It's not my saying, but I love it. It said, if people criticize you, at least don't give them a reason to verify that criticism. So they can say whatever they want, just don't give them the reason to prove that what they're saying is true. Yeah, so that's, same thing you're saying, but a little different way. Yeah. Well, it's a different thing than what you're saying. You're saying we gave them a reason to criticize, and I'm saying sometimes we didn't. At least we shouldn't. So if they criticize, if you're criticized for something you didn't do, that's, at least you didn't do it. So if you're criticized for what you did, don't give them a reason. How can, Manish says, how can you truly forgive and move on even when things are not resolved? You go to bhaktisupport.org, and you register and you take the forgiveness course. One course will take you 4 or 5 hours, and one course will take you like 20 hours. And if you have deep forgiveness issues, resentment issues, take the intensive course. And everything you need to know is there. It's actually quite simple. Well, I'll give you a preview, Manish. Maybe you're close to forgiving and all you need is just one thing. Resentment is taking place where? It's taking place within us, right? We are the holders of resentment. Resentment is a form of anger. Anger is tamasic. If we're living a tamasic life, we are separating ourselves from Krishna. We have to live at least a sattvic life. So forgiveness is sattvic. It comes in that realm of compassion, humility, those kind of good qualities, which if we have are the ripe soil for the seed of bhakti to grow. If you have tamasic soil, the seed of bhakti is not going to grow at all. Passionate soil, it might sprout, but it'll really never become healthy. You need at least to get it growing in sattvic soil and then eventually transplant it into Vishuddha sattvic soil, right? So let's divide what happened, what's going on around you and all the offenses being made to you, if they are continually. And let's see what's going on in your heart. So what's going on in your heart, if there is resentment, it's a reaction to what's going on outside of you, right? Can we separate the two? Can I deal with what's going on outside of me as is necessary to pacify the situation without having any resentment within me, which I don't want to have because it's against the principles of bhakti. It is destructive, physically, emotionally, spiritually, Can I? And the answer is yes. So I can deal with it externally to try to resolve it. Maybe it's an issue between your wife and your mother. And it's just becoming really, really intense. You can forgive whoever it is you have to forgive while you're dealing with that person that you're forgiving in quite a strong way and saying, no, you can't do this. You have to stop doing this. This is bad for my mother, or to your mother, this is bad for my wife, something like that. So always think that forgive for resentment is a contamination within you, which must be removed. Working on the issue is different than forgiving, because forgiveness doesn't mean you're not going to work on the issue. Forgiveness doesn't mean, okay, now that I've forgiven you, good, go punch me in the face again. It's fine. No, you still protect yourself. You still deal with that and resolve it as best you can. But at least now that contamination of resentment is not contaminating you. So it's important to make that distinction. Okay. All right. So now we can actually start reading. What do you think of that? After all this, we can read about Lord Chaitanya. Anyway, I needed to give that preface because I believe it's really important to understand these things. Because you don't want to spend your whole life where your chanting tastes like sand. How are your rounds today, Prabhu? Boom. Tastes like sand mixed with a little iron and salt, basically. Oh, my rounds tasted like mango with a little mint leaf on top and a pinch of lemon. I hate you. No, but that's how it can be. It can be, and it should be, and it will be. And if you can get to that point where at least your chanting is inspiring you and relishable on some level, and it's like you're there with Krishna, worshiping him, talking to him. If you have that experience or some of that every day, you're going to be one happy Prabhu, or one happy Prabhi, or as they say in Brooklyn, Prabhurini, which is not a word, but it's just, funny. The Prabhus and the Prabhurinis, like the dudes and the dudettes. Yeah. So, if you wake up every day and you're tired, like some devotees tell me they're tired and they're like 35. I'm like, you're tired and 35. Yeah, if you're like 85 and you wake up and tired, it's like, yeah, well, that's kind of to be expected. Not like you're going to run a marathon at 85. Well, you could if you're in shape, but it's a little more common. But you're 35 and you're tired. So, if your friend tells you that, think, what's wrong? You're not supposed to be tired. So I don't like to chant. I can't get up. I don't like ISKCON. I don't like the devotees. I don't like to read. I watch too much social media, watch too many movies, read too many novels. It's like, what? And you're chanting Hare Krishna? Something's wrong. No, but I'm taking all these vitamins. Those vitamins must be full of sand. They're not working. You're not digesting them. Something's wrong. So we should be that aware, If that's how we feel spiritually, we should say, okay, let's go back. And as I always say, start going back to your japa first, because that's usually where the problem is. But as we're discussing, the other things in your life are causing problems for your japa. So it's like they're all in bed together. You can't just work on one without the other. So that's the bad news for today. But the bad news will create good news. And you'll all be ecstatic and dance like peacocks, as explained by Rupa Goswami. And you'll be blissful and happy. And every time I ask you how you're doing, you say, I'm ecstatic. My rounds are amazing. I'm reading Bhagavatam. It's so sweet. I learned 400 verses last week. I'm ecstatic. I made 200 devotees. We started this program. All of that will come naturally as a byproduct, as opposed to, how you doing? Nobody's joining. I can't get up early. I can't find time to read. if that's how you feel, it's like the 35-year-old thing. I have no energy. I can't get up. It's just hard to walk around the house. Something's wrong. You're only 35. You're chanting Hare Krishna and you feel uninspired. Something must be wrong with your chanting or something wrong with something else. Don't you think? Krishna consciousness is like an ocean of nectar. How you doing, Prabhu? You live next to an ocean of nectar. I don't understand. Yeah, but it's hard to get there. And it's so far. How far is it? 10 feet from my house. But it's so hard to walk that 10 feet. Really? Yeah, it's the longest 10 feet I've ever seen. You ever feel like that? That's like, it's like so close and there's so much. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Sometimes devotees, they send me, like all the time, they're sending me things like on Facebook to watch, things I have no interest in watching. They're not Krishna conscious. They're just something. And I'm thinking, why is this devotee always sending me this? Like, what is this devotee doing? Is this like what they spend hours a day just finding, funny things on Facebook? And then sending them to other devotees, thinking other devotees are doing the same thing and they like it. It's like, these are signs. Like, we have to look, and these are signs. Yeah. What did you do today? Well, I got home from work. I watched, 5 hours of news on the war, and then I, watched it, that new movie by the Beatles. What's it called? Get Back or something. And then I had dinner like 11 o'clock at night. And yeah. How'd you feel in the morning? Oh, I felt like there was lead in my brain when I woke up. It was really hard to chant. Like, you have to be aware of these things. Like, it's all affecting us, but it's also symptoms. Like, if we do those things, it'll affect us. But doing those things are symptoms that we're, it's just like they work against one another. That's why it's so bad. Whereas if you're doing well, it all works for you. I got up early, chanted good rounds. I wanted to read because my rounds were good. I read. Now I'm inspired. Got up early the next day, good rounds, inspired me to read, inspires me to service. I got this idea for this preaching program. I'm full of energy. I've been putting it off. It's just stupid. People need this. I'm going to do it. Do you ever think like that? Like, the world is suffering and I'm sitting around contemplating, is it sourdough bread, wheat bread, einkorn, rye? I'm not sure, is it grape jelly or strawberry? I don't know. I'm going to go back to the store. I'm taking the strawberry back. I really want blueberry. You're putting your energy into things that are just getting in the way of the real preaching. It's like, hey, did you finish that, service? I couldn't find time to do it. Like, why? Why can you? Because I was contemplating blueberry jelly or strawberry jelly, and it took me 3 hours to make a decision. I went back and forth from the store 5 times. Yeah. Do you ever feel like that? Like the world's going to hell and you're worried about whether it's strawberry or blueberry. And there's things you should be doing that somehow they don't get done. These are all symptoms. They all go together, like I can't. And then it's like, I can't even get my rounds done. It takes me like 4 hours, like why? I used to chant them in 2 or an hour and 50 minutes. Now it takes me 4. I don't know what happened. These are all signs, to notice. Did you ever notice those things, any of you? We have to develop an app that follows you around. And when you're in Maya, it goes, you're in Maya, don't do that. Stop that before, Take out your beads right now and start chanting. Prabhupada wanted us to be intelligent enough to be able to guide our lives. So, but I think some of us might need the, banged in the head or something. Okay. We have to read some of Caitanya-Caritamrta, otherwise, what's the point? Okay, so we're going to start the next classes with this verse. This is from Adi Leela, chapter 3, text 13. Yateshta bhikari Krishna, kare antardhan, Antardhana kari mane kare anuman. Yata ishta, as much as he wishes, bihari, enjoying Krishna, Lord Krishna, kare makes antardhana, disappearance, antardhana, kari, disappearing, mane, in the mind, kare, he makes anuman, consideration. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes and then disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. Text 14. Chira kala nahi kari prema bhakti dhan. Bhakti bina jagat thare nahi avashtan. For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. What's the point of this world? There isn't a point unless you get love of Krishna. Purport. The Lord seldom awards pure transcendental love, but without such pure love of God, freed from fruitive activities and empiric speculation, one cannot attain perfection in life. So Prabhupada is referring here to the seminal verse of Nectar of Devotion, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Gyana Karmada Navritaham, Anukulgena Krishna Nusilam Bhakti Uttamam. This is the definition of pure devotional service. It should be free from fruitive activities, which means the umbrella of fruitive activities is anything you want to make yourself more comfortable or enjoy in any way. Any one of your five senses plus your mind or intelligence. This is how we joy in the world. So any comfort, any sensual gratification, any material improvement, and empiric speculation is that comes under impersonalism or any kind of spiritual path which avoids, in which you engage in to avoid suffering, but also avoid your relationship with Krishna. So it's not done to please Krishna, it's done to please yourself, but it's a spiritual practice, and it's not aimed at increasing your material position, it's just aimed at helping you become liberated from it, because you understand the material will not make you happy, so you think, I'll do this to make me happy. So Krishna's thinking, okay, I haven't given unalloyed service for a long time. And what's the whole point of existence if people don't learn to love me? That's the whole point. That's why we exist. Sakale jagate more kore bhiri bhakti. Bhiri bhaktya braja bhava bhaite nahi shakti. Everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Brajabhumi. So what Mahaprabhu is, what's going on here is we're into the thinking process of Mahaprabhu, how he's thinking. So this is not Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is thinking, I am everywhere in the world, people are doing religious ritual in awe and reverence under the rules of Vaidhi. So they're worshiping according to rules. It's like if you come in and I have rules, you walk in, you take 2 steps, and then you bow, you take 3 steps to the left, you can sit in that seat, but not this seat. You have to sit in a certain way, you have to hold your hands in a certain way, and then you have to talk to me in a certain way. And you have to dress me in a certain way like that. That would be like not fun for me and not fun for you. But if you come in and there's love and you just, whatever you do, instead of bowing, you embrace. Instead of sitting way over there, you sit close, and then we talk eye to eye. It's spontaneous, natural. So that's what attracts Krishna. And so now Krishna's thinking, okay, it's been a long time since I've taught this. How the residents of Braja love me spontaneously. Text 16. Aishvarya jnanete shaba jagamishkrita Aishvarya stita prema nahi mora prata. Let's do the word meanings. Aishvarya jnanete, with knowledge of the opulences. Sabha, all jagat, the world. Mishrita, mixed. Aishvarya stita, tila, preme, to love enfeebled by opulence. Nahi, there is not mora, my prita, attraction. Knowing my opulences, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. Now, this can be confusing because it sounds like, well, I'm doing Vaidhi Bhakti, and it seems like Mahaprabhu is saying, I don't like Vaidhi Bhakti. So maybe I should just like become a little more spontaneous and feel the bhav. Prabhus, we got to feel the bhav. You feel it, just like, you feel like chanting, chant. If you don't feel like it, don't. Just go with it. Maybe you feel like rolling in the dust. To do that. It's not what is meant. You have to do Vaidhi to get to this platform. You have to follow rules and regulations to get to the platform, this platform. And when you want to get to the platform of raga, then you do what's called raganuga sadhana. It's still a practice. And you do everything you did in Vaidhi, but your mood is different. You're on a more elevated stage. What's propelling you to do it is not the rules and regulations of scripture, but it's your attachment to serving Krishna in a particular rasa and following the footsteps of a particular devotee. So the moods change, but it's still the same externally. Let's read the purport. After his appearance, Lord Krishna thought that he had not distributed the transcendental personal dealings with his devotees in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. One may understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Vedic literatures and thus become a devotee of the Lord and worship him within the regulative principles described in the scriptures. But one will not know in this way how Krishna is served by the residents of Braja Bhumi. One cannot understand the dealings of the Lord in Vrindavan simply by executing the ritualistic regulative principles mentioned in the scriptures. By following scriptural injunctions, one may enhance his appreciation for the glories of the Lord. But there is no chance for one to enter into personal dealings with him. Giving too much attention to understanding the exalted glories of the Lord reduces the chance of one's entering into personal loving affairs with the Lord. To teach the principles of such loving dealings, the Lord decided to appear as Lord Chaitanya. So this class is meant to discuss why Lord Chaitanya is appearing. So there are many reasons, and here's one. He's thinking, I haven't given this, and in this rag, it's called Rag Marg, the path of it, spontaneous attraction, as exhibited by the residents of Braja, specifically the gopis, and Mahaprabhu specifically focusing on teaching the love that the gopis had, because that love is the highest and deepest. And also there's another reason behind this. It's the same reason, but there's a reason behind this reason. When Lord Krishna came, as you know, he liked to have affairs with other men's wives. And of course, those women all belong to Krishna, but it was Leela. But people misunderstood that. They think, here's Krishna, he's a debauchee. He's exhibiting what appears to be immoral activity. Although he's exhibiting the highest of the highest of the highest, people couldn't understand it. And so Krishna was coming to give this, but it didn't work. People just thought, look at this Krishna. He's dancing with girls, married girls. I mean, unmarried girls is bad enough in that culture, but married girls. This is the highest, Rasa Leela is the highest thing in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And they have thought it to be the lowest thing. So then Mahaprabhu is thinking, okay, this is not good. We have to be able to teach this. So how are we going to teach it? Those gopis, those manjaris, they're going to come down and they're going to take male bodies. Radha and Krishna are going to come down in a male body. So now all these gopis are all male bodies. Less misunderstanding, right? And then they're going to teach it. When Mahaprabhu was having kirtan at Srivas Sangha, all day, right? That was considered to be like the Rasa Leela, because there is Lord Krishna as Radha and Krishna as Mahaprabhu, and there are the gopis. And so all those moods and emotions, they're there. But what do you see? You just see men. So it's like no misconception, right? And the men that you see are explaining the relation between Radha and Krishna because they know it, because they're one of the gopis. But it just makes it easier for everybody if they're not in a female body. Because as soon as we see a man and a woman together, we put two and two together and we think this is just like ordinary affairs. Interesting, right? And the principal gopis are coming down also, Lalita, Vishaka, like that, and Mahaprabhu's, so Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, they're all there. And there are some who come in female forms, but predominantly they're male forms, right? No misconception. And they're gopis writing about the highest philosophy. So Mahaprabhu really wants to give it. Now, here we are, residents of Kali Yuga, listening to this thinking, oh my God, like, how am I ever going to understand this? This is so deep. This is so esoteric. I want to tell you a story that will inspire you, but maybe we should wait to start the japa class. This is like such a good story. Why don't we do that? Hold that thought. The story. This is going to be a story about Prabhupada's ideas for spreading Krishna consciousness, his original ideas. I'm going to tell you the story. Okay, Gauramani, you can end here, and we're going to